Welcome to the Lost Signals Discusses Film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzur-Mosi Thurlow scale,
or MONS,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello there, my adorably cuddly monstrous friends, and welcome back to Lost Signals Reviews Film and Television. I am your Pokeball master, Scott Thurlow, here with my trained monsters, Jonathan Mander,
Say-hi-hi,
Rich Perry,
Pika-pi,
and Stephen Amosi.
Steve-O!
Nice. And yes, as you may have gathered, we're going to review Detective Pikachu, and to start us off, I believe Steve-O has a logline for us.
Yeah, this is Detective Pikachu, or Ryan Reynolds' dick pic. That one's a grower.
Just as good as the movies jokes. So with that, Rich, why don't you tell us about the plot of Detective Pikachu?
Okay, well, we start off with Mewtwo breaking out from a lab and causing a car crash, which we eventually find out is a car crash that has taken Tim's father from him. So as he gets home to collect his dad's things and say his goodbyes, he happens upon his dad's partner Pokemon, Pikachu, who he realizes that he can communicate with, and they decide to team up and figure out what happened to his dad, if he's still alive, and what he was running from. And they solve all of that stuff.
Yep.
And everybody gets a happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, except for the villain. He goes to jail. But
that is the happy
and
ending.
he's still confined to a wheelchair, but...
He's like an evil Stephen Hawking whose plan is to mind control Pokemon, I suppose.
Yeah. Merge everybody with their Pokemon and cause the next stage of human and Pokemon coexistence.
Which, would that be so bad, really? Just be a Pokemon forever.
I guess if he told everybody beforehand what he was going to do instead of just springing it on
Or
him.
give him the
choice.
option, I suppose. But sure, it's a classic villain-ish plan, and it makes sense to this nature of this film, so...
Oh, and Pikachu was Tim's dad the whole time.
Yeah.
It's this synchronicity with Pokemon. It works well. Now, before we go further into this, there's going to be, at least for me, comparisons with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Of course.
Right. Sure.
The logline, Who Framed Detective Pikachu. Now, it's weird is because I grew up loving Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that is a very much a kind of film noir style detective work, while this is a buddy cop detective work in a sense. And I can't divorce the two, and I don't want to judge this based on my nostalgic love for a movie. But yeah, the plot is very thin, but it's a very neat world they built.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's really... the world building is done very well, and just like how they incorporate Pokemon into like what the real world looks like, and like kind of how they've always been there, types of things. You just get these like subtle differences from our world that are like, oh yeah, I guess that would make sense if Pokemon were just always around or whatever. I think that they do that really well. The plot is finish, but I think it's fine for what it is. It's probably going to be a 2 for me because I think I factor in a bit of the world building goes with how they did the plot in this movie, and yeah, a lot of that goes to style, but I think a decent amount of it also goes to like how they developed the plot of this as well.
I think I'm going to go with a 2 as well. I was expecting less than what we got. And the fact that they took the time to even make it a little bit noirish with all the twists and turns and like the double cross at the end. It's pretty classic stuff filtered through a Pokemon lens.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
Well, I was going to say, I like the comparison that you made to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but if I may throw another one in there, I think that this is kind of this generation's Super Mario Brothers movie. And I think this is much better. Whereas I thought that this was a good amount worse than Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think this is much better than the Super Mario Brothers
It's like
movie.
a happy middle between
Like,
the two.
you got that that superhero world that they try to do a lot of world building in, except for Super Mario Brothers really fucked it up. Whereas
I love
this
how you're
did
using
it really
two
well.
Bob Hoskins movies.
It's the Bob Hoskins connection. It's the Bob Hoskins theory.
So one of so I'm looking also at buddy cop films out there. A Lethal Weapon, a Beverly Hills Cop. This tried red herrings more than a lot of those movies attempt to do. And I get, because, I mean, you see a famous English actor, obviously, like right at the beginning of the, right when he reaches the city, obviously this guy's the villain.
Obvious villain.
I understood all of the twists about a half an hour before the reveals of them happened.
Yeah.
But it's not to take away that I'll give it credit for at least attempting to do that and doing a little bit more than just a standard fair buddy cop drama. I don't know. I'm probably gonna give it a 2 as well, but it's weird. It's a weird place in all of these different genres.
I feel you.
Before you go, Scott, was there what was the who eventually turned out, or who you thought originally thought wasn't his name Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a Roger that was framed within the
Yeah, that's
storyline of
true.
the movie.
As a meta angle there. No, I mean, so yes, I guess I'm viewing it from the angle of this is not. It's somewhat meant for audiences like us, but also it's meant for younger audience, younger-ish kids, in a way. So yeah, that means they can't do a fucking Chinatown plot or anything like that. So it has to be something they can
It's for
understand
the sequel.
and follow through. That would be amazing. Detective China Pikachu.
The 2 Pikachus.
yeah. Pikachu 2. Mewtwo. Chinatown 2. But anyway.
Are they finally going to make the 3rd film in that series?
Yeah. They'll just get the script and drop Pikachu into it. But no, so I'm just saying, given that, yeah, it was, I don't want to say flimsy, but it was obvious. But that's, they need to have that, because anything more advanced, it would sort of, lose it would go off course, I would say, something like that. So, I can't really, fault it. It doesn't suck. It's just fine because we can predict, like you said, what was going to happen. But you're right. I do was convinced a bit that they took a little bit more extra effort to put some things in there that, even though, if you're the savvy audience, it doesn't matter all that much. But the fact that they took the time and the effort to, try to do, oh, for the kid, is it this or whatever, right? And, world building will ship a lot of points in the style. But that sort of did add a bit to the plot in terms of it. So I think I will end up, at the end of the day, with a solid, okay 2 as well. Although I was, originally coming in with a 1. But yeah, like I said, you guys made the good points there, and for all that, I'll give it an extra point as well. All right, 2's all around.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, Steve-O. I'm going to do that the whole episode, or at least for a bit. Tell us about the themes.
I don't know, that you don't have to catch them all. I guess the ones you don't catch become your friends.
If you love
along
something,
the way.
set it free.
I don't know if there's a super deep theme to this. I guess it's kind of they have this city that is completely based on whole different terms than the rest of the world, which is become a, the rest of the world is become a Pokemon trainer, catch Pokemon, they're your pets, they're your you own them pretty much. And this city is based around Pokemon are equals and are free basically. And even though everybody has or seemingly most people have a Pokemon partner but they don't keep them in the Pokeballs. They don't do all that stuff.
And they help them out with all of their jobs.
And yeah, and they're doing jobs throughout the city. So there's this interesting message of equality for animals, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ton to the themes of this. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Well, I mean, there's the Me Too stuff as well, which I'll turn it over to.
They had a bunch of themes set up that they didn't really spend too much time staying with. They'll set up Mewtwo's whole I thought all humans were evil, but you turned out to be one of the good ones, and he just flies off. Or Tim's forgiveness arc with his father is kind of rushed over, and then tied up in a neat little bow at the end.
Yeah.
Actually, very weirdly, there is a heavy father-son theme here with both the villain and his son, and Tim and H. Goodman. I forget the guy's first name. The man inside Detective Pikachu. But it's, while both Tim and Roger turned out to be good, it had almost nothing to do with the actions of their fathers.
Like in most films, like you'll have the villain be a mirror or the opposite of the hero, and like you figure like with Roger and his father's relationship not turning out well, there'd be like more of a correlation with Tim and his dad, but it was kind of like glossed over, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think it's part and parcel for the nature of the film it is and the audience it's aimed at. So, like, while that stuff is there, it's mostly surface, and you're right. It's, like, very limply followed through, I guess. So, like, I don't know if they tried to go deeper, like, would it have made it a worse film based on, like, again, what it's going for, essentially? Like, what its intentions are.
I think it would have made it worse. I think it would have bogged down the pace a bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? In terms of that. So it would detract it from something else. So I'm looking at a 0 too, like defaultly, like, yeah, whatever is there is fine. It's not bad, but it's not like all that meaningful, I guess, or it's not all that impactful. It's just there like as sort of a bow upon the top of the bare bones of the plot, I guess I want to say.
So the theme is go play Pokemon Go and go collect all of our cards.
Yeah, have fun with Pokemon and love this franchise, I guess.
Yeah.
Spaceballs 2, the search for more money.
It's if you don't know all the Pokemon in this movie, you're not doing it hard enough.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's all fan service shit, but that's not a theme. So like, all that's going to be elsewhere.
Theme is fan service.
Yeah, like I almost was going to say that as a joke thing, but no, I mean certainly it has like like humanistic beats to it, but those are just there like as needed for the plot itself. Like it's not delving too deeply. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the 0.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the 0 too. The themes that were there didn't get into themselves enough.
Yeah.
So I'm
But again, like
0.
all I'm saying, my final thought is by nature, perhaps a film like this is not ever going to do that, or like rarely.
Not true. I mean, it's been done, and oftentimes in kids' movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a simple theme, but it's still
Explored
prominent.
quite well.
This wasn't.
Just wasn't that.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, this didn't quite have it.
Yeah, well said. So
This was like the themes were set up like Pikachu's strings of clues
Yeah.
set up around his office.
Very
Also,
twisty.
also things like don't do animal testing, which could have been a theme that they
Right.
went
Yeah, but
for.
that's gloss. Like
it was right. It was
how
shot
do you
in there, and
gloss
then
over a kaiju-sized Pokemon, like a Pokemon field. Like there were like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're just like, whatever.
this is happening. Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
move on now. We got to finish.
We need a big set piece. All right, we're done.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
looked cool, but didn't mean much. Is all I'm saying.
Like that bothered me throughout the rest of the movie. After I saw that, I was like, what do they eat? Do they just lay there?
What about those? What about the mouse?
Do they? I guess they use photosynthesis to.
Well, it's the next Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
The movie didn't
Figure
think
it
too
out.
hard about it. You're thinking way harder than the script.
And what
did.
happens if you throw a Pokeball at it? Like, like you'd win every Pokemon fight that you ever have.
True, but you need I would say ratio-sized Pokeball, so like it's impractical.
They'll be waiting. They'll be waiting for you, and you'll just like fly by in a fucking jet, like all the way up in the sky. It's like, all right, go.
Fair enough. Well, again, like you said, maybe they will address that in the sequel, but they didn't in this one. So that will bring me to antagonists.
Pokemons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, POWs.
Yeah, that's what Mewtwo was.
But no, so I'll just talk briefly. You guys sort of laid it out a little bit. Antagonist is, what's his name? Howard Clifford. Like, is like a Bond villain for a Pokemon movie, like, more or less. He has a overarching evil plan. I'm going to do this. And it's for the better of humanity and for the Pokemon, ostensibly, but really I'm forcing everyone to my will.
It's a lot more benevolent than most evil plans.
Like, in theory, right. He's not trying to, like, take over shit, I guess. Or, like,
actually, it's about as benevolent as
Thanos.
yeah, or what's his face from? God damn it!
You'll think of it.
Yeah.
Go on, Scott.
Go on, Scott.
But no, so like, I mean, again, because we are who we are, it was obvious from the get-go, like, what pretty much who was going to be the villain. And they tried some like maybe if you're younger and not exposed to as much, you might have thought, oh, it's a subversion, even if you didn't know that word means. But like, you know what I mean? So like, he was fine. The actor was fine, but it's the villain that like makes sense for this plot. So I guess I'll give it credit there. But like, I'm kind of torn about this one. Was he all that effective? Was he memorable? Like, his plan was good in theory. So what do you guys think?
He was, in a lot of ways, the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1
Okay.
with
Kind of like
the
that.
Joker's plan from Batman. And
Go on.
It's a hell of a villain and on paper.
Wait, which Batman?
the bat where he has the poison glass balloons.
Oh, yeah.
The first one, Michael Keaton.
Batman,
They
yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, that did remind me of that scene, speaking of, so yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm going off on a quick tangent here. Sorry about this, but my favorite Super Smash Bros. Level is Poke-Floats.
Oh, God,
And
yes.
my favorite character to play in Super Smash Bros. Is Pikachu with the Irish hat on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching Pikachu with the green hat on, jumping around these Poke-Floats. Brought me back to
That's a dream come true.
great trip of mine.
Yeah.
All you needed was Sam Jackson to show up and talk about the Smash Brothers initiative.
But no, so I don't think he was all that effective. I think he was I love the actor. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah, he
knew
did a
him
good job
immediately.
with what the script gave him, but
Yeah, they did a quick and then played it straight. A quick subversion. They played it straight.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to give it a 0 because I'm not going to remember this villain.
Evangelion was what I was trying to think of.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Good call,
Nice.
But yeah, like he went from good guy to villain so fucking quick. like,
Yeah.
like there was a
He evolved,
Yeah.
if you will,
yeah, like there was such a switch flip
instantly.
that like as soon as Tim got there, he was like, all right, it was almost like he was gearing himself up to be like the hammy villain, and then like can't wait to get his monologue on
Yeah.
and drop down like Jesus from the sky to
Your people wrote the speech.
drop down like Jesus from the sky to deliver everybody into the new world. And he was beat just as quickly. Like
You know, I'm kind of I kind of liked him. I don't know if I'm going to give him a 1, but I kind of liked him in that like he, even though it was kind of obvious for anybody who's seen a lot of movies, if I was a kid, I would have fucking loved. I'm trying to
That's
put
kind of
myself
what I'm
in
saying, but like, yeah,
the
it's
mind
difficult,
frame of
yeah.
like a kid watching this. I would have loved this, and I would have like hated that guy, and I kind of like that aspect to it because he makes you like him throughout the movie. Like if you don't expect him to be like switch and become the villain, he makes you like him throughout the movie. Like he kind of buys your respect and your adulation, I guess, a little bit, like with all of his grand ideas and like all the cool tech and stuff that he has. And then he flips it because obviously he has to, because that's the way that it goes. But I don't know, like I might give it a 1 just for that, like trying to see it from the eyes of a child.
Mhm.
listen,
I feel you, like, I get it.
apparently in the original game, like Roger was the villain.
I did not know that. I don't know the lore of that.
So I guess
Roger?
So maybe that's a subversion
His
for the
son.
fans.
the one that they set up as the villain initially.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he was the villain in the game.
In the original game?
The game
Like
in
Red
space.
Blue?
No.
Oh, okay.
Detective Pikachu.
Oh, there's a
With his-
Detective Pikachu game?
Yeah.
I
course.
didn't know that. All right.
But no, like I do see what you mean. I guess so. Yeah. So like,
I
so
mean, they can't-
So I like that. They like
it's a subversion
anybody
on
who's seen it,
the
they
fan
subverted
base.
that. Yeah.
Sure.
like I allowed myself to fall for the like, oh, maybe it was Roger the whole time because he hates his dad. I was like, who doesn't have daddy issues?
Yeah.
And like that sets him on the path of villainy.
But not only does he turn you against like his, villainy, turn you against Tim, his son, but also against Mewtwo, who turns out to be like the biggest hero in this freaking movie, basically. And I like that. Like he kind of plays his role as like a manipulator pretty well in terms of a kids movie, right? Like you can see through it if you're savvy, but like if I was a kid, I would not have seen that, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, what just happened?"
Nobody ever expects the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna give him a 1. It's a really soft
fair
one,
point.
but yeah, I'm gonna give him a 1.
So what is that?
I think you flipped me on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm sticking with the 0, but it's a pretty soft 0, and yeah, like that is
Yeah.
a solid like angle to take for sure. I just don't think it's quite enough, but it's not bad or poorly handled or anything. I'm is what I'm saying. But I'm still going to just
And
give
the
it.
actor is fairly accomplished and
Yeah,
does a
Yeah,
good job.
he does a good job.
Like I said, I'll just stick with the soft zero,
I
but
don't know.
close.
A hammier actor would that
Might have ruined it.
worked better or worse?
It might have worked better. I don't know because it's a kids movie. That's a really weird question, but yeah, it might
Well,
have.
think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
When I
hamming it up.
killed your brother.
Sure.
He's just, oh man, he's still terrifies me.
That's
to this
still a
day.
great scene. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, just trying to see it like differently, but for me, like, so we cut it up either way.
All right, you still doing zero?
Yeah.
No, I was on the fence, and I think you pushed me over on the one side.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. Very nice. Well argued there. All right. So let's talk about the hero / protagonist, and that'll be you, E.
Tim. It's weird that it's a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
In this piece, I was expecting a much younger hero for this, and it worked pretty well. The actor did a fine job. He was awkward when he needed to be. He was uncertain when he needed to be. He was brave when it called for it, and you really saw his growth throughout it. So yeah, I think he did a fine job. And then Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, and he. Once upon a time, there was an age when anything Will Ferrell did, I was looking forward to. Those times are long past now.
So now it's Ryan.
But Ryan Reynolds is like, yeah, he puts out something, I'll go watch it. And the main reason I actually went and saw this, and he didn't disappoint. I like the fact that he was a caffeinated Pikachu. So yeah, I'm gonna give it actually a pretty strong one. Actually, I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I'm following up pretty closely. That I thought Tim had a good arc for sure. I think they gave enough, like they devoted more to his character, like obviously than like other things, but that it was just enough to make it quite believable and buy into it. And then of course quickly he becomes buddy cop, as you said, with Ryan Reynolds speaking through a digital Pikachu, and that worked. Like the relationship worked pretty well. And yeah, I think they both did a good job. And it's often it's difficult, I'd say, like maybe like working with like a completely digital like co-star essentially. But yeah, I still think their story was complete. It made sense, and of course it was his father all along. Like OMG. But yeah, like that worked. That worked pretty well, like in terms of plot, as we mentioned. So I'll give him a pretty solid, strong one.
I'm picturing him acting against Ryan Reynolds dressed in a Pikachu.
I feel like Ryan Reynolds might do that. Yeah,
I could see him definitely doing
Yeah.
that.
for sure.
But yeah, like you hit the nail on the head for as far as like having to do so much acting across from like a CGI or animated, just like basically most of the cast.
Yeah.
And most of the things that he has to deal with, and he does a really good job. I mean, I love the actor in The Get Down, and I've
Joseph
been
Smith. Yep.
yeah, and I've been looking forward to seeing him in other things. I'm glad. I was a little iffy, like this was one of them, but turned out to be really good, and I enjoyed seeing him go from such a young cynic to like allowing himself to open up and join the rest of the world.
Yeah, like I said, his character had growth, depth, and
it made it completely believable for him to want to be a detective after everything that he went through.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. It all came kind of
One for me.
for circle. Yeah,
For
one.
sure. Yeah, it was. Tim was good. Pikachu was really the only, like, Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu was really the only reason I went to see this movie. Other than, like,
Sure.
I mean, we probably wouldn't.
I mean, yeah, it's a big draw, but
if Ryan Reynolds wasn't playing Pikachu, we probably wouldn't be
we would have been
reviewing
less
this right now.
inclined to do it.
But I think they both did good jobs. I think that Ryan Reynolds is just a funny, dumb, like, he's good at doing dumb, funny stuff, and, like, this is no different at all. There were some really good jokes that I'll probably, like, stick with me for a little while, and there are some, like, good throwaway, like, little one-liner things that I have already forgotten.
The interrogation scene
Yeah.
was just fucking hilarious.
That's coming up
Yeah.
soon, but I do agree with that.
But yeah, it's gonna be a one for me for sure.
All right, one for you as well. Okay. So speaking of like the rest of the supporting cast, Rich, tell us all about the humans and/or Pokemon that comprise it.
So, I guess I'll start with the Pokemon. the Pokemon were used very well to set the pace and start the world building as far as everything goes. Like, they immediately showed how deceptive, or how cute and deceptively dangerous they were with that first bit with the Cubone. Like, starting off with Mewtwo, showing him just, like, lay waste to everything, and then, like, having Cubone attack Tim, and just, like, as soon as he hits the ground with his bone orang attack, and just explodes. Yeah. And then, like, all the rest of the human characters played their parts really well, like in like in a detective movie. Like, everybody shows up,
exactly.
They have their scene, they do their bit, and then just like walk off and allow the rest of the story to continue. But I think everybody hit their beats very well. I would say standouts to me were Detective Yoshida.
Yep, Lieutenant.
Sorry, yeah, Lieutenant Yoshida and Lucy. Especially her entrance from the top of the stairs as, like, just motor mouthing, like, her entire lines.
Super noiring, noir, like, journalist thing.
And then, like, realizing how ridiculous it was as she was going, and then just kind of, like, dialing it back a bit. And yeah.
What I like about Lucy, just build off, is that their relationship is believable, especially towards the mid point of the film, because she's addicted to danger, and Tim is providing her with that outlet for danger and enabling her to get into bad situations. And I completely, in a sense, believed that. And it's two young actors. It's sometimes hard to pull off chemistry like that.
Yeah,
and I think that there was a reason for it.
I like the fact the camera, like, stayed with them long enough to see them, like, have, like, kind of, like, longing glances at each other, like, while the other wasn't looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I liked her portrayal quite a bit. I thought that the guy who played Roger did a good job. Trying to remember the rest of my note. How can we not mention shirtless Sebastian?
I actually legit forgot about him.
What a ridiculous part in the middle of the movie.
I feel like it was that was sort of the more hammy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, right, it's a necessary part of the story for sure.
He was the ham for sure. And I just want to give a shout out to Coffee as a second supporting character.
Also, can't remember the Pokemon's name, but the bartender.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hey, dog, can I get another cup?
Yeah, that was a pretty good gag. I forgot about that.
And the mime. I'm sorry,
Mr.
Ian.
Mime. Mr. Mime.
Ian, I think you were going to say that. I'm sorry, I stole it from you.
Mr. Mime is one of the darkest and has perhaps one of the darkest implications of what happened afterwards.
Oh yeah,
because he thinks he's burning alive right now. Or right after that scene in the and I cannot imagine what mental anguish the mime was going through.
How does it affect the Mr. Mime if that's what he believes the situation he's in?
But I also want to say that Psyduck is one of my personal favorite Pokemon of all time from back in the cartoon, and I like to see him get a spotlight here. They set it up perfectly that he's going to have the headache and explode, and I was waiting for that to happen, and it happened, and it was completely worth it.
It was a good payoff.
I love how he used that to blackmail Pikachu into rubbing his feet.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love Pikachu, setting it up the entire time. Like, this guy's gonna blow up. Like, so just waiting for it.
Things are a ticking time bomb.
Oh great, he's put me in the backseat with a bomb.
Yeah, so I don't have much more to add. I think the whole cast, whether like the CGI Pokemon and the actual like everyone else that filled out the world of the detective story that's happening, did a good job. And it was like one of you mentioned, or many of you said it was believable. And yeah, I didn't feel like it was out of place or someone like was acting like as if it didn't make sense or anything like that. And yeah, Lucy was good. Ken Watabe is always pretty solid too. Like you said, Rich, like they come in, they do their job, they play their part. And Lucy, like, most importantly, but even, like you said, her partner, Pokemon, Psyduck, and all that, and all the other, like, random ones that, like, Bartender one, all the ones you just see, like, doing their Pokemon thing in the background or, like, as part of their investigation, it was fucking solid.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a 1. I think we all are for secondary.
Yeah.
And speaking of jokes and Pokemon noises, Steve-O, you should tell us about the dialogue.
So this is an interesting one. They stretch on a couple of their attempts at jokes, and like.
But again, keep in mind it's for both, like, different audiences.
Yeah,
right? On one level,
but they go for broke on a lot of them, and it doesn't always work out. But it does enough, I think. I think that there are a bunch of good jokes in here, and the like jokey, like there's at least some care being paid to keeping the dialogue like in line with old school like noir / detective genre fiction type stuff, and I really appreciate that. A lot of times, I appreciated that a lot of times watching it. There was no point where the dialogue was cringeworthy, I don't think. So I think I'm probably going to give it a pretty good score. I'm probably going to give it a 1.
Yeah.
So I want to make a point that they handle their exposition really well in this. So let me before you let me finish my thought.
Fair enough. Saying I'm going to rebut that is all.
Rebut it when I finished. So the one part they're setting up the villain and they're setting him up what his motivations are, and they have him talking on the television as the train sequences are going by. So you're seeing action of the protagonist and transportation establishing movement, establishing that, while having exposition being delivered through a separate format. So I think that for the majority part, or they do it through the detective aspects, which are always exposition-y when you're dealing with, we're trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
But I never thought it was overbred. I thought overall it's either handled okay or actually with a deft touch. Now,
it's not like bad per se. Like, don't get me wrong, and you're right. Like, not cringeworthy, but I guess again, I'm trying to cut it up. Like viewing it for the eyes of a child, viewing it for the eyes of us. That it's what it needs to be. It's like serviceable, and I felt like there was a villainous speech there. Like, of course, because you have to have one. But because I've seen so many of those, like it was not as impactful to me. So like there was a lot of stuff that like would have been in were I younger or like where haven't seen as much of it. So it's not bad. I'm looking at a default-ish 0 because it's fine. Like, but nothing like I don't remember. Like I remember one single joke, and it's almost more style really than anything else. And yeah, it had like the liner, like the one-liners kind of things, but I don't remember many of them because they were like lesser, but lesser / I hate to say this, like dumbed down, but like targeted to a slightly different mindset in a sense. So that's like that's my angle I'm taking on it. So I'm not saying it's shitty or bad or mishandled, but it's just not enough for me to give it a full credit.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
What do you?
Like it worked for me. Like I have to agree with Steve and Ian. Like it wasn't dumbed down. It wasn't. I mean, they took the time to sprinkle in like the bits of noir dialogue that you would be expecting for a story like this, as well as having the Pokemon-esque dialogue for the fans of the series, and also allowing Ryan Reynolds to shoot around and do his Ryan Reynolds routine in the PG-13 setting.
Well, I'm saying, like, I feel like it would be a lot funnier if it was rated R. Like, then I would obviously probably like it more. But that's all, like, the angle I'm taking. So give it a 1, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty. So this is probably the strongest point for me. I'm on to style. And, like, yeah, man, they did a good job. You guys all said, like, it was very naturally and organically built up from, like, the first scene onwards. And especially when they, what is this, Rhyme City or something like that? Like,
Rhyme City, yeah.
Was where it was. So, yeah, it's a different dynamic than what, like, perhaps, like, the casual, like, person who's familiar with Pokemon but not, like, into it as much, like, knows what it's like.
That they did that. Like, they decided
that was the best subversion to me.
To have a city that was completely different than all the ones that you've ever played in the games.
Now, of course, they had the battles, but, like, in theory, in terms of the narrative,
illegal.
they're not supposed to be doing that, and it's part of, like, the nefarious plot that's happening, right? saw that, like, and yeah, all the digital, like the CGI was pretty fucking top notch. Like, it was pretty impressive that they put so many of them in there, and like, and I don't feel like they overused them either. Like, it made sense for the ones that showed up when, and like they had the Mr. Mime scene, and then that scene was over. And again, that was a darker moment, which I appreciated those, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely remember that joke, right? Well, that's not necessarily a dialogue joke.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember the scene, yes, so that's why I'm shipping it to style. And the one that I think we're all going to say, like, maybe I'll save it for one of you to say it, but the second one that I think was the funniest reference / joke, and like, again, like somewhat darker, that was great too. But yeah, it all, like, again, looked fantastic, and clearly the budget showed. And even, like, maybe when you said, like, the Roger Rabbit thing, maybe it's just generations, or, like, the younger generations, Roger Rabbit, if they're growing up on this. Because, yeah, it all melded together quite well, and everything else was shot well. Mm-hmm. So I've really no complaints, and in fact, pretty impressive the way they did it for style, so.
Do any of you remember Dinotopia?
Yes.
Only very vaguely.
So, Poketopia worked, and I know it. Like the small little details of the electric Pokemon running along the power lines.
Yeah, shit like that.
Whoever did this put a lot of care and thought into how the society would run, and I have to give them full credit for that. It was actually very impressive.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was just a really, like, deep dive into Pokemon society, you know? I appreciated that. Like, it wasn't outstanding in terms of, like, the soundtrack. In fact, I don't remember the soundtrack at all. Other than Pikachu sadly singing the Pokemon.
Well, that was the thing I was referencing. Yes.
Well, I had to say it before, before we got past style, but that was certainly a great joke, but also not necessarily a dialogue joke, as you mentioned. But yeah, it's really great, like, seeing how much work and how much not only work going into, like, the character details and, like, the character designs and stuff like that, but, like, work going into thinking about how the city would function and things like that. And I can really appreciate that. So I'm going to give it a 1.
All right.
Give it a 1 as well. Yeah, can't really add much to it.
Yeah, I think style is probably the strongest point to me, at least, of this one.
I just want to say that I feel the purpose of this film was to build a world that they can make further films on.
Sure, of course.
And as you said earlier, fan service to, and like they mentioned Kantos, like different like things throughout. Like, yeah, like I'm not a Pokemon fan, but I got a lot
recognize
of
that.
Like they implied that either this takes place after the movie or the Red and Blue games with Mewtwo escaping from the Kanto region.
Mm-hmm. So
Ash is like a 30. At least 31-year-old at this point.
Oh, I hope they bring in like a 40-year-old Ash.
Let's go find it.
Like a haggard Ash.
He's just like broken down by life.
It's even more noir.
He wears the hat, but it's the same hat. It's just like torn up, like moth bitten and everything.
If that's the fucking sequel, that's
gotta
fantastic.
Go and find Misty and Brock, get the band back together. It's like if he's in worse shape, then Team Rocket's in even worse shape than he is.
Yeah. Sad Pokemon would be the subtitle.
They're both selling themselves in the streets of Rhyme City.
So we give it a 1.
Okay. 1 for style, and actually back to you, E. Do you recommend Detective Pikachu?
As I said, just to kind of finish off the thought I was just having, it was that they accomplished everything they wanted for this film. If you're a Pokemon fan, yes, go see this. If you're a Ryan Reynolds fan, yeah, I think that this is worth watching. If you're into like magical realism, like this is actually one of the better ones.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, I agree with that.
So, if a random person came up to me and asked me, "Should I go see Detective Pikachu?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I think it's not the deepest thing in the world, but it's enjoyable." So I'm probably gonna give it a recommendation.
True, I think everybody can get something out of this movie, especially if you like. If you need something, if like the world's getting to be too much, and you need like a feel-good movie,
pick me up.
Yeah, you need to pick me up, like feel-good movie with just a bit of adult jokes sprinkled throughout. Like I'd say, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. I we watch movies almost every weekend for the podcast, and I watch a bunch of other stuff. I go into work on Monday mornings, and I'm like, all right, what did everybody watch this weekend? And I was like, I always tell them what I want. I'm like, yeah, I watched Detective Pikachu this weekend. Everybody was like, oh yeah, how was that? Like, everyone is kind of interested already,
Yeah.
which makes it easier to recommend it. And I was like, it was entertaining. I was like, it's not like the best movie in the world, but it's definitely worth a watch. Check it out. You know, and that's going to be my recommendation to you.
I recommend it over the first Pokemon movie.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Actually,
yeah, I
you
mean,
bring-
like,
sorry,
you
you
got-
have a really good point about like people like pretty much like already interested.
Mhm.
As soon as this was announced, I was like, Detective Pikachu, Ryan Reynolds. Okay.
Yeah.
sold. Got me.
Let's see what it is.
First you had my curiosity. Now you have my money for a ticket.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But no, I mean, like, I'm basically remix everything you just said, like, as a paraphrase. Like, yeah, it's enjoyable enough. It's pretty cool to kick back and like check it out. And if like you said, depending on your level of fandom, then you get like a lot of cool little references and like little nods and stuff without it being overbearing or alienating if you're really not that much. So yeah, I think they did a good job overall, and it's making a shitload of money. So I think we'll almost certainly see more of
They
them.
already greenlit a sequel.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
There you go. I didn't actually hear that, but it makes sense, and I think I would check out a sequel as well based on the strength of this one.
Although, how are they going to have
Yeah.
his? You know what?
Don't worry about it.
Pokemon.
They're figuring it out.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
They're going to put him back in there.
No, maybe since Lucy had stolen so many of those vials of R, and maybe Tim swiped the headset.
Oh yeah,
So
that'll be a twist, I guess.
Fair enough.
But yeah, either way, this one is it's a like I said, it's a pretty solid ride and worth the price.
Yep.
All right, so shall I give out the scores, my friends?
Sure.
All right, we got 3 8s. That's Rich, E, and you, Steve-O, and I've given it just a little bit below with a 6, and that will be a 7.5, and damn solid.
Yep.
I think it earned it.
I think that's about right.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts about Pikachu or humans or otherwise?
All right, this is
The
going to be
coexistence thereof?
for a very specific group of people here who will find this funny. So on the door, it was H. Goodman. There's a pundit in quotes / conspiracy theorist named H.A. Goodman. So I couldn't help but divorce the two for a little bit during the film. Nonetheless, I'm done.
You thought they were conflating him?
No, not at all. I was conflating them.
All right, yeah, so I think that'll do it for this one. I've been your half Pikachu, half human hybrid, Scott Thurlow, here with my fellow residents of Rhyme City, Jonathan E. Manzer,
I want to be the very best.
and Rich Ferry,
I'll settle for mediocre.
and Stephen Amosi.
I got my sad singing thing stolen, so good night.
Mm-hmm. And
Editing and engineering by Jonathan Ian Manser. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or mods?